Why do people love to take heroic, noble, bright, sunny characters and shit all over them? I definitely have an answer to that. Is because you're all fucking weird.
Well, hey there, Indy, turn your dial. Dapper Don's here to make you smile with a co-host sharp and riff so true. We've got the laughs, the rants, the view. What's going on? Oh, what's the word? Indy's the city where we'll be heard. From Monument Circle to Broad Ripple on. What's going on with Dapper Don? So grab your coffee, Hoosiers, and let's get to it. 'Cause we're in the house!
What's going on? It's Dapper Don, and I'm excited to welcome you all back. So, comics, the heavenly union between art and writing. We've had some iconic characters that have radically changed the media landscape come from the comic book world. And when the authors actually feel like moving the fucking story forward instead of constantly rebooting it, looking at you, DC, we get some of the best character moments and think pieces in any form of media. Comics tend to ask the questions that even movies dare not ask, at least not at first. For example, what if everything that could go wrong in the Avengers and X-Men timeline did? What if Batman's rogues gallery made his situation even more hopeless? Fuck it. What if we made them all zombies but kept their sentience and abilities so they can feel every inch of the mental and physical rot? Aside from the zombies concept, and even then Marvel had to tone it down heavily, these are not stories that studios are overly enthusiastic to adapt. And to be honest, that's why we love them. These characters have been with us throughout our childhoods and have always stood, no matter how dark the stories got, as symbols of justice and hope. And for the most part, they always beat their odds. But now we're grown up. And since we've grown up, we've wanted to get a little more experimental with our stories. Whether that was a good or bad decision is something myself and my co-host Comic, say hi to the people, Comic.
Hello.
That's something that we intend to find out tonight. Yeah, just kind of tell us about your background with comics and how into things you actually get when it comes to your exploration of them.
Yeah, so I've been into comic books since since I could read, actually, pretty much. Um, I've always been more into DC than Marvel when it comes to comics. Movie-wise, different story, but yeah, comic-wise, I like how grounded and dark DC gets. Marvel can get there too sometimes, but I think DC has the knack for telling really great dark stories, and that's what I like. I like, Batman for the detective stuff, the mysteries.
Right.
Yeah, like I'm really huge into like mysteries and solving different types of like weird supernatural crimes. Like now he does like more like supernatural stuff nowadays. It used to be just like basic stuff, but now he's like mixed into like both. But yeah, I don't read as much as I used to because of work, of course, and some other things. But I've been trying to catch up on everything that I can. Now I just mostly read everything online. I used to like collect comics a bunch when I was a kid.
Okay.
But now it's just more pricey because everyone's into comic books now because of the MCU and DCU. Ooh,
Yeah, no, I get you.
yeah,
I get you.
yeah.
So, something you said was actually pretty interesting was that you think DC has the capabilities of telling a dark story more so than Marvel. What kind of shaped your opinion on that?
Like I said, Marvel can do it too, but not as well. I've seen DC do some pretty horrific things with characters. Pointing case Jason Todd, that was a big one at the time. Joker killing Jason Todd.
That's a main storyline.
Yeah, that was a big one. Well, we didn't like Jason Todd at first. I mean, I wasn't alive in the 80s, from the 90s, but no one liked him. They thought it was a terrible Robin, so they killed him off in a pretty brutal way. But of course, it's
Then
comic
people
book.
wanted him back, so they brought him back.
Yeah. Well, at first it's like, oh, it's Clayface pretending to be, or is he still actually here? I remember that it's like, oh, it's just Clayface pretending to be Jason Todd, but no, he's he's back. Yeah, like the only comic book character that actually stays at is Uncle Ben. I don't think I've ever seen him come back besides in like an alternate universes. But
Right.
yeah,
I had forgotten that like the main non-dark, like normal Batman storyline, in that storyline, Jason Todd gets beat to death with a crowbar and tortured in other horrible ways, and then they throw him into a zombie pit.
yeah, the
And that's a main story. That's not something you're gonna find in an Avengers comic. That's like, so I definitely get what you're saying when you compare the DC and Marvel. It's like you're not gonna find stories like that in an Avengers comic. Now they do have stories like that, but
they're most
the way
likely coming
DC does it
back pretty
is,
quickly.
yeah, yeah. But speaking on Marvel, I will say that Marvel can tell a dark story if they want to, but Marvel tends to be on the kiddish side of things. But you know, that brings me to Marvel Ruins, which I had you check out the other day, and I'm gonna kind of pull up the plot character summary here now.
I actually took notes of everything that I read. So that way I don't, because my memory is kind of bad now since um but yeah, like I was intrigued because well, I forgot the character's name, the character that we follow. He's like he's a writer. I should have noted his name down.
Yeah, he's a reporter.
Yeah,
The
reporter. Yeah,
main
yeah, he was
character is a
yeah,
reporter.
yeah, he was working for the Daily Beagle. I almost said Planet. We were talking about DC earlier.
No,
But
wrong
yeah,
universe.
they have similar names though, so sometimes I get confused. But yeah, the Beagle. Um and he's pissed off that Parker's still a job. I'm like, oh, this guy reminds me of Eddie Brock a bit.
Right, right.
But yeah, he's
Okay,
going
I've
around.
gotten the plot summary.
Okay, yeah, that's probably better than me. What?
So, Ruins follows former Daily Bugle reporter Phil Sheldon as he explores a dystopian alternate Marvel universe where, in his words, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. A world where the myriad experiments and accidents which led to the creation of superheroes in the mainstream Marvel universe fucking pop up. Really? Okay. Where was I? Of the superheroes in the mainstream Marvel universe instead resulted in horrible deformities and painful deaths. The narrative follows Sheldon as he tours the country investigating the after effects of these events, researching a book about the strange phenomena in order to prove that the world has taken a wrong turn somewhere, and hoping to complete it before he dies. As he journeys across America, the nature of the world is gradually revealed in the form of both interviews and cameo appearances from various figures in the Marvel Universe, in their twisted forms. Uh, that's the plot synopsis of the entire Ruins. Now, in the first issue, after witnessing the destruction of the Avengers Quinjet, in this reality, a radical secessionist rebel group rebelling against an oppressive American government led by President X, who is Xavier, Charles Xavier.
Yeah, that took me
I know
back
you said that
when I
that
read
was a
that.
yeah.
I was
I was like,
shocked.
I
I'm
know
like,
you said
why
that was
would
a really weird plot point.
yeah, like why what would make him become president? Like that's something that Charles would never do.
Well, not only is it something that he would never do, but I don't think it's something he would ever really be allowed to do.
Right.
Because the whole thing about Marvel mutants is that they're supposed to represent like a minority class of people that are treated like beneath humans because of how scared they were of them.
Right.
So I mean that beat was pretty weird, and I know that they kind of wanted to. Actually, I don't know what the impetus for that writing decision was,
I would have
but
been a little bit more sensitive was Magneto because
yeah, Magneto has the actual aspirations to do
yeah,
something like that, and I can imagine him just going and. But we'll see what happens to Magneto in this universe. Well, the
yeah, that
audience
was
will. I already know, but
yeah,
but it's like, yeah. So this Quinjet explosion killed both Captain America and Iron Man, and Phil encounters a decaying Wolverine whose flesh is slowly falling off from the toxicity of his adamantium bone structure. And his healing factor, he keeps re-healing, which is not great. Sheldon proceeds to a Kree internment camp in Nevada, which is situated on a nuclear test site, where the last survivors of a Kree invasion fleet are imprisoned and slowly dying of cancer. Yeah, it's one tragedy after another. Clad in a radiation proof suit, he interviews Captain Marvell, one of the Kree prisoners, who tells him why their invasion failed. The Kree came upon the Silver Surfer, who had gone mad and torn open his own chest in a futile attempt to experience respiration once again, only to discover that the power cosmic emanating from the Silver Surfer's body had been interfering with their scanners, preventing them from detecting a nuclear barrage which destroyed 90% of the warships. In Washington, D.C., uh, in Washington, in Washington, D.C., Sheldon arranges a meeting with the government agent Nick Fury, who attacks and almost shoots him, insisting that he proved he was clean and claiming that Captain America introduced him to cannibalism. So, uh, yeah, they are interrupted by Jean Grey, here a prostitute. Okay, yeah, that was
Yeah,
another
this is
weird plot
something
point.
that really shook me to the core. Like, yeah, she's like, yeah, I'll be any age that you want me to be. I'm like, so this is a teenage Jean Grey. She's not an adult here. She's selling her body. This Nick Fury's he's gone
Cannibal,
crazy.
apparently.
Yeah, he's gone crazy, cannibal, and he's done with the world. Like he just seems like he just doesn't care anymore about you know life.
Yeah,
He's had like a
which,
psychotic meltdown at this point.
yeah,
And he
and
like shoots her in the head. Yeah, he shoots her in the head. I'm like, what the fuck?
yeah, I think I remember that, and that was a pretty gruesome scene. But I don't know, man. Like, even like reading what I'm reading so far, happening in issue one, a lot of these characters are taken desperately out of character. Like, they are removed from any aspect of what their original character was. Because, like, let's just take the President X thing for example. Xavier is supposed to be a very blatant parallel to Martin Luther King, which means that he would have no aspirations to be president, nor would he want to. The whole thing is that Xavier is powerful enough to do these things, but his goal is to help people. Magneto is the one who's powerful enough to do it and would do it, but even then, he wouldn't want to Magneto has things against trying to ascend in a human society anyways. He would prefer to just do it his way. So this like really rips people out of character. I don't know. I mean, what do you think about what did you think when you read it?
Yeah, I thought a lot of these characters so out of character, and I think it just felt a comic made for like a shock value. Like,
Mhm.
here's these characters that you love, and we're gonna twist them in these ways to like shock you, and that's it. I mean, the story is kind of interesting, but I just didn't like how a lot of these characters were handled.
I mean, honestly, the story's interesting if you like hate Marvel for whatever reason.
I mean, I thought at first it was gonna take like a different turn. Like before I saw that, like the Jean Grey thing was the thing that made me go like, okay, yeah, this this isn't for me, but I'm gonna continue to read it just so I know everything that happens.
You know, it almost seems like a comedy because Jean Grey is a prostitute who offers herself to both Phil and Nick Fury for $20.
Yep.
Like,
Well,
it
this
just feels
comic.
like this is
When does this comic take
Go
place
ahead.
again?
You said what?
What year does this comic take place?
This was Now, I don't know what year the comic actually takes place. It takes place during whatever year the Quinjet explosion took place in the, so Quinjet Marvel, comic year.
Because I'm trying to remember
The
based off
Quinjet
of,
first appeared in February of 1969, so
yeah, like their outfits that they have kind of look like they're from like the late 60s, early 70s era of Marvel. So I'm
yeah,
thinking
but it's
$20. Yeah, $20 is probably standard.
I don't know, man.
I'm just trying to do the math.
This is this is just ridiculous because
Yeah,
like, why like, isn't Jean Grey one of the most powerful mutants? Why
I think
Yeah, I
here
don't
she's just like cos like a cosplayer, like prostitute, like dressing up like a hero. like a kink type thing for guys in this
Ugh.
universe.
Yeah, that's just a weird plot point that makes me think that this was supposed to be some kind of parody. Um, and also the Nick Fury saying that Captain America introduced him to cannibalism. Does that? I mean, that doesn't even. I've read the rest of the comic. That doesn't come
Yeah.
up again.
No, it doesn't. And
It's
I'm
just
like waiting for like a panel of this to come up, like a flashback scene in like World War II. I'm like, where's this scene at? I want to see, Cap eating people.
like
Like,
last resort doing that,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
just
Never mentioned again.
like no. Now, granted, the art is really nice in this comic, right? It's very good art, but a lot of Marvel art is good, and so I'm not really gonna look at like we're gonna look at some of the art, but at the end of the day, it's like it's just
I
this
think
had to be just made specifically because somebody wanted to shock as many people as possible, the
I
quickest
think
way
the
possible.
I think the only character in the story who kind of felt the same as their primary counterpart was Ben Grimm. He wasn't turned into a
Mhm.
thing in this universe. He
Right. Right.
the ship.
Well, I'm gonna get let's get
Yeah, I was talking about Ben Grimm, like being the only one who like didn't seem off.
mhm. Which I'm gonna get through the rest of issue 1 here so that we can get to that part, hopefully. I don't remember what issue that is.
Don't recall. I just noted down things.
Right, right. But yeah, Fury he shoots her dead and then kills himself. More edge, great. After his encounter with Fury, Sheldon visits Chicago and interviews Rick Jones, a morphine addict living with fellow addict Mario Chandler, who tells the story of when Bruce Banner saved him from a gamma radiation blast. However, instead of transforming Banner into the Mighty Hulk, the radiation transformed Banner into a monstrous green mass of pulsating tumors. Now, I kind of can believe that this would happen. Now, this is one of the more believable ones because I mean the whole gamma radiation thing, but what we learn about gamma radiation later, it's kind of it's kind of impossible, but this is something that I could actually believe happening. But that's only if you don't think of gamma radiation in terms of what we literally learn about it later. So I definitely think that I don't know. Like the Bruce Banner one is okay, but the rest just seem like just random shock value just for the sake of it.
Yeah, like I believe like gamma radiation would actually, give you cancer. Instead of, well, I mean the reason why I turned Banner into the Hulk was I think originally in the comics there was like a plot point where like the Hulk was always a part of Banner.
Mhm.
Some like weird thing like that. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, the Hulk was like one of Banner's, I guess, alternate personalities that he
Yeah,
would go into whenever because his parents were in like he was abused by his parents and they were in an
yeah,
abusive
yeah. I
relationship.
remember
So,
now. Like he would hide underneath like the kitchen table whenever his parents fought,
mhm.
and he would switch to a different personality so that way he wouldn't like flip out.
Right, and it was a very like he would go into it and it would be a very convincing personality. It was like one of the first representations of a dissociative identity disorder in the comics. Um, but yeah, well, him and Moon Knight. But yeah, it I don't know. I still think the comic leaves a lot to be desired because just because I can believe that this would happen, I would believe this would happen whenever this takes place in the late '60s. But with the one above all stuff and the fact that gamma radiation is supposed to be some godly force in Marvel, I just this is a stretch. Now, leaving the apartment, Sheldon trips over the corpse of the Punisher in the snowfall,
This
and
is
the issue ends
something
with him on his knees.
that I didn't
Go ahead.
understand. Like, who the fuck killed the Punisher? He just walks over his corpse, and I'm like, yeah, you just stare dead. Gunshot wounds. That's it.
And like why in the hell are we just that nonchalant about the Punisher just dying in the snow? The
Yeah, yeah,
Punisher.
yeah. He just walks over his body. He's like, okay.
Uh, yeah, I mean, this was a but that's the plot of issue 1. Now I don't remember what issue the rest. I don't remember what issue the rest happens, but we're gonna look at some character fates within the
I
comic, and then
noted
that'll give
down a
us.
bunch of things that happen.
Yeah, by all means, go ahead and name off what you noted.
Okay, yeah. So Johnny Blaze, for example, here, he's not
Mm-hmm.
Ghost Rider. Instead he's like, this is pretty fucking comical to me. He was pouring gasoline on his head, lighting his head on fire,
Huh?
and performing
Oh
tricks
my
that way,
god.
and you could see all the
Oh no, wait.
burn scars on his
I
face.
remember that. And wasn't he like what? Didn't they like he was screaming all the time whenever he would
Do it, yes. And when the reporter was Sheldon, right? That's his name.
Mm-hmm. Philip
Yes.
Sheldon.
Yeah, when Sheldon was there, that this was the last time Johnny Blaze was performing this stunt because this one last time killed him. I'm surprised he lived
Yeah,
through like the first time lighting his face on fire.
yeah, I don't know. That just seemed that now that's stupid. Like, come on. This is Do you remember the creepypasta episode we did where it was just a bunch of random people dying, hyper realistic eyes, blood eyes, guts, gore? Yeah, this is what it seems like. This seems like it was the first creepypasta to come out in 1995. Like, this was the first creepypasta because there's no way you he's setting himself on fire. That sounds like one of those lost episode joints. What else did you have noted down?
Yeah, the thing with Ben Grimm that I was mentioning earlier. So Ben Grimm in this universe didn't go on the space shuttle with his friends, with the rest of the Fantastic Four. So he's not the pilot here. It's Victor Von Doom who replaces him,
Okay.
and so he's been telling Sheldon the story of what happens to his friends, and instead of them getting their powers from the cosmic rays, um, they come back to Earth and yeah, they're all dead. Like Mr. Fantastic's corpse is all stretched out. Um, Sue, yeah, she's invisible, but her eyes were invisible too. Like everything was invisible, so she can like see or breathe. So she died instantly. Human Torch, his body just combusted into flames, and Victor Von
Jesus.
Doom, um, his organs went inside out.
So, I mean, all of this just seems kind of. I mean, the Sue one was kind of clever, but and the Mister Fantastic one was a little bit clever too. But a lot of this just seems kind of random. Because what do you mean Doom's insides just went in
So you
like?
know how his well his powers are kind of different sometimes. Like in some
Mm-hmm.
Marvel, like in the main universe, he's like a fucking wizard now. But originally, he had like the like in the Fantastic Four movies from the early 2000s, like his thing was like controlling like minerals, like metal and shit, kind of like Magneto, kind of. So that's what it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like his insides became his outside. It was something to do with his
Okay.
powers that he would have gotten. Um, but yeah, and with Johnny becoming the Human Torch, he literally like lights on fire and no turns to ash.
Okay. That that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. No. That makes sense. It just. I don't know. It's definitely somebody. It's definitely somebody just being edgy for edge's sake. But like, let's go now. We can go into. Do you have what happened to Magneto noted down?
I have yeah the stuff with the X-Men, yeah. So yeah, like we're shown the X-Men, but they're all like locked away in this prison for them. So
Mm-hmm.
Cyclops is shown to have his eyes shown shut because he accidentally murdered his family with his optic blast. Fun fact about his optic blast that a lot of people don't know: his powers come from a dimension called the punch dimension. So they're not
Which
actually heat
I
vision.
mean, yeah, I was about to say it's not heat. It's literally somebody punching you.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know that. I
Which
just wanted to throw that in there because it's a really fun
yeah, those
fact.
aren't lasers.
Yeah.
And also, by the time we meet Cyclops, he has such control over his power that this isn't something that would ever happen ever. Also, didn't he had the visor by this point where that definitely wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, at this age,
But
yeah, he had the visor, yeah. But here in this universe, yeah, after what happened to his parents, they locked him up and sewn his eyes shut so he couldn't, do anything to anyone again.
mm,
So Kitty
I
Pryde,
do know that you
go,
said Kitty Pride. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So Kitty Pryde here, she has her phasing abilities here, but this was kind of twisted. She was trying to phase out of the prison, but she didn't fully phase it all the way, so she miscalculated and she phased out halfway. So 3 feet of her intestines, however you pronounce it, intestines, however you want to pronounce it, potato, 3 feet of those
Entrails.
entrails, yeah, um, were spilled out of her body.
Oh God, that's
Yeah.
the that's just horrible. That that's just horrible.
Quicksilver is shown with his arms and legs cut off, so he can't use his super speed at all. And so he's just like
Yep.
a torso in the head here.
Yeah, I saw that. That was, I mean, that one wasn't so bad, but it was also pretty gruesome.
I can't really. I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, his legs make sense, but like his arms didn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, that was just to create like like I know what they're doing. They're trying to create the most twisted looking, mangled abominations possible. So cutting off the arms and legs of somebody, but I don't know. I mean, what did they think he was gonna get a wheelchair and start moving his arms super fast in it or something?
Because I know,
I don't know.
like other speedsters in other comics, like Barry Allen actually uses his arms to like create tornadoes, like and stuff like that. I don't think I'm not really too
To my
knowledgeable
knowledge,
when it comes to
Quicksilver hasn't done anything like that.
with his arms, no, but with his legs, yes, but no, with his arms, I don't recall
Yes.
anything. Like I said, I'm more of a DC guy than Marvel, but um, so he has a inhibitor device on him, so that way metal doesn't fly towards him. So he has this
Right.
device on him to keep metal away from him. It accidentally breaks, and he's crushed and like impaled and torn apart by all this flying metal debris at an airport.
Oh my god.
Because an airport guard takes it off of him, thinking it's like a bomb. But no, it was a inhibitor for his powers, and so everything just
Jeez.
gets completely fucking destroyed around him.
Yay, that's fun. That's fun. You know, I get the I get the curiosity for like what would happen if everything went wrong, but it's like some of this stuff is just I don't know.
Do you want the
I don't know. Some of this
Oh, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say that some of this stuff is just really, really stupid. Like it's comical.
It's
It's
like, what if
almost comical.
their origins or their powers went wrong? Basically, it's like, well, what would happen if they weren't in control of their powers or if their origin stories went wrong? Basically what this is.
Yeah, but it takes them so far out because they had certain characters before we even met them. That's why in the first comic they come out the way they do. So it's just like, yeah, let's just take these characters grossly out of character. Like, okay, Kitty Pride, she's young and naive, but she wouldn't miscalculate a phase. Like, like that's never happened because she can control when she's invisible and when she remains invisible and when she wouldn't miscalculate it. That's
Right.
not something that and
It
like
just felt like a whole shock value comic. Like,
yeah. Well, the best example I can come up with is the Silver Surfer thing. Like he ripped out his lungs so he could experience the sensation of breathing again.
in space.
Silver Surfer has never needed to breathe in like okay, maybe before he was Silver Surfer,
Yeah.
but
When he was
it's like
Norrin Rad, whatever his last
yeah,
name was. It starts with an R, I think.
Norrin Rad. By the
Norrin Rad,
time we
yeah.
meet him, by the time we meet him, he's a herald of Galactus, and he hasn't breathed since basically he started working for Galactus. Like, so I,
And
I
who,
guess,
I mean, not every species can breathe in space and comics. Um, so I yeah, that was kind of stupid.
yeah, like it's what is like if it's a being that doesn't need to breathe, why would he suddenly want to breathe again? Especially if he hadn't been doing so for years up until that point. That doesn't make
I guess
any
if it's
sense.
um, I've read some things where it's like vampires, for example. They're like, oh, I miss the taste of actual food. I don't need actual food, but I miss the like texture and taste of it, so I'm gonna consume it anyways type thing. But they don't need it
Oh
to
boy.
live.
Um, Now, if I'm remembering correctly, did they talk about in this what happened to like Black Panther, Ant Man, the Wasp, and all them people?
I don't recall anything with them. Last thing that I noted was what happened with Peter and the
Hmm.
guy we're following because they're intertwined. Both their faces are
But yeah,
intertwined at the end.
speaking of speaking of, we got to talk about what happened to Peter Parker. The spider biting him, and then he gets that disease, and I think it's a flesh eating disease or something like that.
So, Peter Parker in this universe is actually the one doing the experiments on the spiders.
Hmm.
Instead of him, going into like an Oscorp lab type thing and getting bitten. So he actually is established at the Beagle at this point, and he's running experiments at the same time. So he's quite older
Okay.
now, working at the Beagle and running tests. But yeah, a spider bites him. He gets radiation poisoning. Um, and he comes to the Daily Bugle, just dumbass. He's supposed to be genius. He comes to the Beagle, and this seems like something that Peter Parker would never do. Like, oh shit, I have this infectious thing. I don't want it
I'm
to
gonna
spread
go
to.
around everybody.
Yeah, I want to go around everybody, shake everybody's hand at work. Everything's gonna be okay.
Well, not only that, but Peter would identify the fact that he had radiation poisoning. He would have identified that like long before any of the because his skin starts like peeling or I guess going into a twisted version of this pattern on his spider suit. His skin starts to look like it being reddish and having a spider web pattern on it. But before it even gets to that point, he would have already identified, okay, I need to quarantine, I need to stay away from people, I need to go into hiding.
Yep. And then we find out that that Sheldon has been taking these pills to keep himself from dying from the radiation poisoning. But
Yep.
he sadly dies on his
Yeah.
way to get his story published. Um,
It's like, oh boy. It's like to add insult to injury, the main character dies. So there's no more story.
yep. No one gets to read his work at all.
Nope. Now, I think that the way they talked about this universe was that it was some kind of corrupted universe and that it needed to be like destroyed or something by the gods. But for me, it's a very like some parts of it are really well written, some parts of are really well done. But overall, it's not necessarily my thing because of just how they seem desperate to try and shock you with whatever they can. Like this does not seem like it's written by somebody who very much loves and knows the characters. It seems like it's written by somebody who's just like you know was maybe read the comics but was very curious about like morbid stuff in the comics. It just does not it's edgy for the sake it's this was written by somebody who shops at Hot Topic. I guarantee you. Like I just can't see any of this making this none of this makes sense. It feels like a 13-year-old took a pencil and just decided to write the most horrifying like I could write something like this. But this is supposed to be an official comic that somebody made money off of and it got published and distributed to many people.
Yeah, and this was 1995, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 95.
Yep. Now, as far as the art, you and I have already seen the art. It's very good art, very
Yeah,
realistic
I like the art
looking.
style.
It's It's I actually think the art carries the comic more so than the writing does,
That's why I continued it.
which yeah, I mean, the art is very, like, you get the washed out colors, you get the, like, the twisted faces, the visceral gore. I mean, you got and it also feels like there's just this filter, this miasma, going on with the way it's painted, like a stain, kind of. I do kind of like that, and I'm gonna put up, like, a little brief compilation of the art, in the video to kinda show you what I'm talking about, but and it's very much like the painting is kinda, like, washed out, it's I mean, you'll see what I'm talking about, it's very hard to vocalize, I'm not an art critic, but it's
I'm not
definitely
either.
pretty good. I think it's definitely pretty good, but yeah, the writing leaves a lot to be desired. And honestly, if the art is what's carrying your comic, then it's a horrible comic. I'm sorry. So as far as Marvel Ruins goes, I know we didn't go as in depth, but I think we covered a lot of it.
Yeah, I tried to.
Yeah, I'd say I give this one about a 5 or 6 out of 10. What do you think?
I'll give like a 4.5 out of 10.
Oh wow, really? What makes your score so what makes your score so much lower than mine?
Well, it's like with video games, like with me, like you can have really cool graphics, but I'm more into the story. I need a really good
Mhm.
concrete story to pull me in, or like gameplay when it comes to like a comic or game as well. I need
Right.
three things of a video game. Same way with comic books. I need more than just visuals to keep me entertained.
Right,
And
right.
like the shock value, you're just I it just felt unnecessary. It felt like shock value
It
for shock
definitely
value's
felt
sake.
forced. Yeah, and another thing is the disappointment factor because Marvel, I promise you, has sharply better writing than this. Like they have like the Marvel comics now and what they're doing now and the things that they got going on. It's so much better, and they have other dark alternate universes that are, way better written, which we'll look at if we have time. But I'd say we should move on to the next thing because we are already almost 40 minutes in. So, we're gonna go ahead and talk about the Absolute Universe, Absolute Batman in particular, because I
I
just
don't
find his
really
story
Yeah, I think his is the best. I don't really care for anyone else's. Like Wonder Woman stuff is pretty terrible. I don't like the art for Wonder Woman at all. Superman's it kind of reminds me of the New 52 Superman.
okay. Doesn't Superman like murder somebody? Sorry, I only read Absolute Batman because that was the one I wanted to cover. But doesn't he like kill somebody or something like that?
I can't recall. I saw that for issue 4. This is a while back.
So, do you think the Absolute Universe struggles with that edgy for edgy's sake with the other heroes?
Yeah, there's certain things that I do like Batman, and I liked what they did with what was it, the meeting with the villains. I forgot what it was called, where they
Hmm.
discussed taking down their rivals. And like Lex Luthor's there, and they're all discussing how they want to take out Superman, Batman, yada yada yada. Green Arrow shows up and he's dead. Like they kill Green Arrow off
That's
without him even having his own like comic. But he's getting a comic, but it won't be. I think they're gonna be replacing him with someone else. I think maybe I don't know who.
Isn't Green Arrow I'm sorry, isn't Green Arrow arrowable? Isn't Green Arrow comparable to Batman in terms of strength and stuff like that?
It depends. I think Batman has the upper hand with his more
Obviously,
vest.
but
No, I'm without gadgets. I mean, like he's trained with so many different martial artists and stuff. I think he knows like 127 kinds of fighting styles, if I recall. Something around that.
nah,
It's insane.
yeah.
Oliver, he survived. Different writers have written him surviving on the island for like different amounts of years, like 6 years, 12 years, yada yada yada. Um, I don't think Batman's had to survive on an island by himself for that long.
No. Well, I'll say that like if Green Arrow and Batman didn't know each other at all and they didn't have any info on each other and they weren't on the same team for years, I definitely think that Green Arrow might have a slight edge, but Batman would still ultimately win, but again, you wouldn't be able to tell who won.
I think Batman would win. Like I said, his vast knowledge of different fighting styles. I think he would pick
Mhm.
up on Oliver's pretty quickly.
Oh, you
Like,
think you know what? That's true. He was a
yeah,
strategizer, yeah.
yeah. Oliver isn't as strategic. I can't even pronounce the word.
Strategic.
Sur- Thank you. As Bruce, he's almost at that point, but not as quiet as Bruce. He's not as smart as Bruce.
You know what? You have a point. And then I forgot that yeah, even if they don't know each other, Batman would still adapt pretty quickly. I mean, who would win depends on your interpretation, weapons, armor, skills, all the death battle shit. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into a summary of issue 1 here, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, synopsis for The Zoo Part 1 of 5. This is Absolute Batman issue 1 that released in October 9th of 2024. Yeah, I turned my back for 2 seconds in 2024 and I come back and Joker is a horrible monster with rows of teeth. I don't know. I don't know. I got to stop dipping out of comics. Is apparently what that's telling me.
Yep.
So yeah, this issue starts like this. Intelligence agent Alfred Pennyworth is abruptly pulled from his 5-year pursuit of a high-profile target and sent to Gotham after a long absence from the city. He returns to an old safe house and attempts to call his estranged daughter Julia, who lives in Gotham but only gets her voicemail. He opens a secure video call with his handlers, who tell him that he is there to surveil and gather information on a new terrorist group known as the Party Animals, a black masks gang in this universe, whose horrific crimes are responsible for a 700% increase in the murder rate. Alfred is ordered to observe only and not engage under any circumstances. His superiors also tell him that a vigilante has been operating in the city recently, who he has permission to engage if it proves necessary. Alfred leaves his hideout and sees that his motorcycle has been stolen. Already starting out, this feels like a love letter to Batman almost. Like it feels like somebody who was very much interested in the characters and the dynamics they could have decided to just say, screw the canon, I'm just going to do my own thing with the potential of this story. Instead of it just being edgy for edgy's sake, there's an actual plot here.
Yep. And I
It's not just
love that
some guy walking through a field of corpses.
Alfred here isn't that old. He's still pretty young. I was maybe like early 50s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's kicking ass and taking names. He's a spy, which I like because a lot of the comics hint at his past of being either like a spy or being in the British military, stuff
Yep.
like that. And we never really see him do much with that because he's like old at this point when he's
Right.
raising Bruce and
Well, I mean, there was that time. I don't know if it was an alternate universe or what. I think it was Injustice where Alfred beat the shit out of Superman.
yeah. You put on a Green Lantern ring and he beat the shit out of Superman, or not Green Lantern ring. I was thinking about DC versus vampires for a second.
I think it was a White Crypt. Was it White Kryptonite?
It was some type of kryptonite.
Yeah. And he like just no wait, it was no, because it was an Injustice, and Superman had made his like strength, or like every member of the Justice, I guess, or no, I think it might have been Batman that developed like a Superman pill for people to take,
Oh
and so
yeah, that's
everybody,
what it was. Yeah,
yep. And
yeah.
so the reason that they're so strong in Injustice the game is because of the fact that they're on the Superman pill, which makes their strength equal to that of Superman's. Does that mean that they can't be beat by Superman? No, but they can fight Superman.
Yep. Or like sometimes in the animated stuff, he's shown like carrying like a shotgun around.
Mm-hmm. Which
I
is
remember
great.
in what was it? It was a Batman and a Superman animated film, Public Enemies. That's what it was. When they're both on the run because Lex Luthor is president, and he puts out a
Yep.
arrest on them. And so like you have all the superheroes and all the supervillains chasing after them, and you see like them trying to get to the Batcave, and Alfred just shows up carrying a gun. I'm like, yeah, this is
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, I know that, but like, back to this comic here, this Absolute Batman, like, it's very much already given off the impression that this is not going to be some story where we're just going to see a bunch of shock, and it's just nothing more than shock. Like, there's a plot here, there's some form of hope because there are still people that want to do good. It's not just everybody's evil for no reason. So, and it definitely has I think you might have been right when you said that DC was kind of better at telling a dark story. At least in this case, they are. Because the Absolute Universe was a universe made by Darkseid to specifically torture the Justice League. So, honestly, I would have expected this universe to be nothing but shock for shock's sake.
Some of it is. That's why I don't like some of the other stories, like the Wonder Woman stuff.
Right.
Like, instead of Themyscira, she's from, like, hell or something, if I remember correctly. I can't really recall too much, but it's just a whole, like,
She's
demon
a
invasion
demon?
thing. I can't recall. I might be wrong here. But she's, fighting off all these other demons that are invading Earth.
Let's just head back to the story here, since technology won't allow us to just banter. The next morning in Crime Alley, blue-collar civil engineer Bruce Wayne trains on a punching bag at Croc's gym, the only building still standing on a ruined street. He gets carried away punching the bag, and he like breaks it, and then he apologizes to Waylon Jones, who's the owner of the gym, and says he'll pay for it. Now, Waylon Jones is Killer Croc, for those of you who don't know. That's going to come in because like he's holding a crocodile in the panel that we first see him. So yeah, great foreshadowing. But yeah, he said Bruce says he'll pay for it when he next gets paid, which is something that you just don't expect Bruce to say.
Yeah, in
Waylon
this
asks him,
universe, Bruce isn't rich. That's another big thing here. He works for a living.
yep. So he gets his check every 2 weeks like we do, which honestly, I know some people have problems with this. I know some people have a problem with it. I can't say that I do though, because I think one of the problems that Batman really has is that he kind of people when they review his stories and kind of pick them apart, they'll bring up the fact that he has enough money to really solve whatever problem comes through Gotham as long as it's not super powered. Like the
He
Joker, he could just
should
pay
have
to
solved
have that
world
man
hunger.
killed. He could solve world hunger. Like he's so absurdly rich. And like the Joker, he could just hire some overseas assassin to have the Joker killed. He knows a league of assassins. He could, and Talia al Ghul wants the Joker dead. So it's like, I don't know. Like he could do so much to take care of the Joker. He could take care of Bane, Killer Croc, and do whatever he needs. In fact, Arkham Asylum is blatantly corrupt, and he has enough money to where he could buy Arkham Asylum and turn it into an actual mental hospital. And yet he doesn't. Now, that's because DC doesn't like moving their stories forward. Because
Well, I mean,
DC
there's
doesn't like.
there's
Yeah,
a thing. I think it's like a psychological thing with Batman. Like he can't be Batman without his rogues gallery around. So without them around, there's no point
well,
in being Batman. So I guess that's why he keeps Arkham there and things like that.
right. And see, if you want to do that, that's fine. But you got to give us a reason why his rogue gallery is still around, other than well, he can't kill because of his moral philosophy, and make
Hmm.
it seem like every other character should hold that philosophy. Because I mean, that's just I don't know. I have opinions on that could go into a whole new episode on the podcast itself. But essentially, I think making him a working class individual kind of, at least for the time being, makes it so that you can't just assume that he'll just solve every problem, because he's only one man, and he's a man that gets a check every 2 weeks. It's probably not much based on the fact that he's blue collar. I mean, I'm not saying blue collar don't get paid a lot, but I'm saying they're not getting Bruce Wayne money. Otherwise, they wouldn't be blue collar. So it's like, this is the type of person I would believe would still have a rogue gallery and be unable to do anything about it, and probably would be hesitant to kill because he would actually be arrested and go to jail and lose his job and lose everything. This is a man that I would kind of, because like, okay, and even the whole Batman Bruce Wayne thing, there's disadvantages to if Batman revealed his identity, but again, money can be a very convenient shield. He could just hire superpowered individuals to protect him as he reveals his identity and changes the city. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like the Batman comics, there are too many loopholes to that plot. But here, there is no loophole. If Bruce Wayne reveals that he's Batman, vigilantism is illegal. He's gonna get in trouble. So again, this is I can buy this. I can buy this. That's what it makes it more believable for me.
They actually did cut off a lot of his money. I don't know if you know this from quite recently in the main comics. I think it was last year that they did this. So now
Really?
he doesn't have Wayne Manor anymore. You won't believe who actually has Wayne Manor now and who's in charge of most
Who
of
has
the Wayne prop. Now his name is slipping from me. And that race should go with the other immortal guy who's been around since caveman times. I can't remember his name right
Brother
now.
Blood?
No.
You said caveman times. It's
Yeah,
not
he's
Ra's
been
al
around.
Ghul.
No,
Not Brother
older than
Blood.
Raish.
Is it like a dude that has the aesthetic of a vampire but isn't one?
Kind of. He's like a big Justice League villain.
Hold
Vandal
on.
Savage.
You said
Vandal
what?
Savage. Vandal Savage. So he's in charge of Gotham basically now, and he's like running things of like the Wayne properties and stuff. So yeah,
Vandal
Bruce is cut
Savage
off.
is he? Some people portray him as. Is his name like? Was he a Robin at one point?
Vandal Savage?
Yeah,
No, he's been the villain.
that's okay. So this
He's an
Vandal
immortal.
Savage. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He pretended to be like Kane. He's been Blackbeard. He's been an emperor of Rome. He's been under okay, kind of like how the immortal has been Abraham Lincoln. Like, you know. Yeah, I slipped in an Invincible reference. We're not covering them today, but I just thought I'd slip that in there. But we're not covering them simply because they don't count as a dark comic alternate universe because they're just a dark comic universe.
Like the boys.
Like the boys, exactly. We would talk about them if they were alternate universes from a main story where things are a little bit more cheery, but I would hardly describe the boys as fucking cheery. Jesus. It's like any alternate universe in the boys that kills Homelander is automatically better than whatever they're going through now.
Same thing with Invincible. If Omni-Man never showed up on Earth, things would be better.
Absolutely. So if there was a virus or something that caused Omni-Man to rip his guts out, well, that's just Tuesday. A good Tuesday for once. So, I mean, plus they already did their whole they're very blatant about the fact that there are darker marks and stuff like that. So it's, I mean, we could go into it, but it's nothing will be surprising in it at all. It would be a very boring section of this episode. But yeah, back to Absolute Batman because I do want to kind of get to a stopping point with issue 1. So we're just gonna, because for whatever reason it kicked me out.
If I recall, God, it's been so long since I read issue 1, but yeah, we're showing aren't we showing Bruce's origin here too in issue 1, or I think that
Yeah,
might be
we're
issue
seeing
2.
that the last night that he had with his parents was at like a zoo,
Yep.
and
Instead of
also
the
we see,
theater, big change.
yep, and we see that Black Mask kills some mafia guy. Now the Black Mask scene, what I think was that was actually pretty cool, man. Like he turned on the lights and it was like masks with molds of people from that mafia guy's family that he killed. I think that is a really interesting portrayal of Black Mask because if you know about Black Mask portrayal in the comics and in the animated features, he is not a very subtle character. He's not a very like if Black Mask is involved in something, you're gonna find out within like, if you're one of the bats, you're gonna find out within like 5 minutes. It's like he is not very subtle when it comes to, So that's kind of seeing that and seeing this be a more conniving Black Mask. I'm not saying Black Mask isn't conniving, but I'm just saying Black Mask he's a tough guy, But seeing a more conniving Black Mask is something that's always been interesting to me.
Yeah, like in Arkham Origins, but that's revealed not to be Black Mask all along. But you think it is for the most part until near the end of the game. You're like, oh shit. So, yeah, it's been Joker masterminding everything, of course. But yeah, like at first you're thinking, oh, this is all Black Mask. This is pretty cool. Usually Black Mask is kind of like a throwaway character.
Yes, that's kind of what I was getting at, is the fact that he's not comic relief, but he's not a major threat. Not like
Yeah, he's
that,
just like
anyways.
a typical gangster.
Yeah, I mean, for God's sakes, Jason Todd was about to kill the guy, and that was after he had just gotten out of the Lazarus pit, just gotten beaten. He was just about to snipe him, and he would have won had Batman not intervened. So, but yeah, Waylon and Bruce are old friends in this universe. I don't necessarily know if they were old friends in the comics.
No,
I think Bruce hadn't met Waylon at all in the comics until he was
that
Croc.
yeah, that's something that's also really different here. So most of Bruce's rogues gallery here are his friends. So
Mm-hmm.
Oswald Cobblepot is a friend. I mean, Harvey Dent's always been a friend originally of Bruce's.
Yeah, but it's like I know Oswald gets turned into quite the creature.
Yeah,
That's an issue coming up.
yeah, I saw the art for that, and like, yeah, Two Face. Yeah, because I remember what Bane does to all of Bruce's friends, and that's what transforms them into their villains, their villain names. Yeah, what he did to Harvey was pretty fucking brutal too. I don't really know if I like Harvey's new look. He looks kind of emo in the art. He has like long hair.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. He looks like an anime character.
Yeah,
Um, I and I'm going to show a compilation of all the art we have so far for Absolute Batman as well. Just editing, Don, put that in. If you don't put it in, I'll light you on fire. But I don't know. I don't know if I have a whole problem with I just think that the long hair, because the suit and stuff and the blue half face was a reference to the animated series version of Two Face. So I don't have a problem with that. But the long hair throws me
yeah, I don't
off.
like the hair. Yeah, he looks
It's
like he
like
belongs in
because
a screamo band.
yeah, like isn't he supposed to be like a politician? I don't necessarily think that a politician would let their hair grow that long. Maybe they would. I don't know, but I don't see it. I just don't see Harvey Dent doing that. But yeah, so next in the comic here, the leaders of Gotham's crime families meet Roman Sionis, the leader of the party animals, on his yacht. They tell Sionis to leave town by dawn or they'll kill him in his gang. This is getting into the part where Black Mass does what he does. But Sionis reveals he has already murdered their soldiers and then gruesomely kills them too. That evening at a town meeting, the people of Gotham blame Mayor Gordon and the police for the failure to stop the party animals, demanding that Gordon step down. Alfred watches City Hall from a vantage point and sees the party animals approaching. He asks his superiors for permission to engage, but they tell him his mission is to observe only, even when Alfred points out that mass casualties are likely. Inside the hall, Martha Wayne tries to calm the people, telling them this kind of conflict is exactly what the party animals want. Suddenly, the gang burst in, throwing a smoke grenade. People dive for cover, and Gordon tells them that whatever they want, to only deal with him. They gun him down and are about to slaughter the rest of the people when they are suddenly pulled out of the room and the door slams behind them. The police look outside and see an army of party animals headed for them. Barbara Gordon says they should secure a perimeter and opens the door, but to her shock sees Batman on the other side, who tells her to shut the door and stay inside. So, this is utter pandemonium. Of note is the fact that Martha Wayne is actually still alive. That is something that was also interesting too.
Well, yeah, kind of felt like an Aunt May type thing of
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
which I think
Yeah,
that dynamic I actually do like, because if Batman is supposed to be a symbol of hope, then having one of his parents be alive would be hope for him. And plus, when she if she eventually dies, I haven't read all of Absolute Batman. I've read sparse parts through it, and I've done like a watch through of like a summary of it, but I
but
haven't
did
read
you
it.
see
But
him take
like,
down the whole? Did you see him take down the KKK? That was freaking brilliant, man.
he did what?
He took down the KKK. There was a one-shot comic of him taking out the whole KKK.
Oh my
It was
god.
awesome. He like lights someone on fire and shit. I'm like, this is awesome as yeah, man, you gotta check it out. It's that one-shot thing with
My
him
god. I
in
have
the
to
Absolute
read through
Universe.
all of Absolute Batman, cuz like again, I've read through a lot of it, but the problem is, right, like the whole video that I was watching was like 3 hours, and
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. That's why I'm like, I don't read as much as I used to. Like I said,
mhm.
price point one, and yeah, I have all these comics online, but like, it's so time consuming when you have other responsibilities and like one thing ties to another thing, and that ties into another thing. I'm like, so I usually stick with the alternate universe things where it like doesn't connect to so many different things. But
Right.
now these other alternate universes are connecting to other comics too. I'm like, what?
So it's starting to get a little bit hazy. But yeah, so Batman actually fights off the party animals next, and I'm just gonna summarize it. He defeats the initial assault, and rather than like Alfred is watching the whole time, but rather than engaging, Alfred chooses to watch how he engages. And Batman in this universe is described as being superficially brutal, but non-lethal. So he's frightening deliberately, like he's big, imposing. He's got like he looks like a D&D orc that decided to cosplay as a cat. It's very, very off-putting.
He's
Like
like, what
you,
if Dwayne Johnson became Batman?
yeah, pretty much, pretty much. Well, actually,
That's all.
Dwayne
He's just pretty
Johnson,
open.
if Dwayne Johnson became Batman and didn't actively ruin the Batman universe because he wanted to always win. But yeah, so he defeats the rogues, and it's like, again, this superficially brutal but non-lethal. So he is mollywopping these people, but he's not being. See, main universe Batman's all about the basically the police style takedowns, the chop you 3 times, hit you in pressure points, take you down. I mean, if you
He'll
get to
break
Arkham
bones
Asylum,
too.
yeah, he breaks bones and he'll put you in the hospital, but it's more methodical than anything else. But I like the idea of a Batman that's just very much savage, but he won't kill you. Because at the end of the day, Batman is supposed to be a very angry individual. He's supposed to be essentially one bad day away from just being a complete nightmare for anybody involved. So I definitely think that he should be a little bit more brutal. I just feel like Batman's not been brutal enough. I mean, except again in Arkham Asylum where you can just endlessly beat people, but that's very player driven. So I don't know if I count that.
I mean, he's brutal though in the Arkham Asylum comic in that
But
universe.
yeah,
He's a
now Arkham Asylum
basically
he
a
is pretty
bully.
brutal in.
He's a
Yeah,
bully in that universe.
well, to be fair, the versions of each villain in that universe kind of warrant it though.
What was that one? There's one of them that are wheelchair bound, and he's looking for Batman. And Batman just kicks him down a flight of stairs.
Well, it's because the Joker's messing with him the whole time, playing little mind games with him, and as he goes deeper in, it's implied that I think Batman starts to lose his sanity more and more.
Yeah,
So, I mean, honestly, Arkham Asylum is one of the best written darker AUs ever, to the point where like it's completely been absorbed by the fandom as one of the best, and it's one of the best written in my opinion. So, I think that even though he was a bit of a even though he was a bit of a tyrant in that one had a better reason. And again, it's how a lot of people imagine Batman being, especially if he was real. You want to make this realistic. So I think the whole brutal but non-lethal ideology is pretty good. Although I think at one point in this universe, Absolute Batman just like soccer ball kicks a kid. I
yeah,
think
he
it's one of the
does.
black is it one of the Black Mask goons that he just because they try to
Yeah,
they try to
yeah.
choke him out or something like that.
They're on a ship, if I remember correctly, I think it was a ship or something like that. And like you see this kid charging at him, and Batman just punts him off the
Yeah,
ship.
yeah.
And
He
you
just
laugh.
like
I'm like,
drop. He just dropped. He does it like how you do a kickball at recess, just drop and again. I just found that diabolical. I don't know, but I guess if
and
you're a
this Batman
criminal,
doesn't fuck around at all. Yeah.
this version of Batman does not play games. But you know what? I think that this it better in some ways than even the main universe, because it's like, again, this is supposed to be a man who, like, the whole idea of Batman is coping with loss. If he's still a spoiled little rich brat who could solve every problem that comes his way, it's not very much coping to be done, is it? It's like even Harley Quinn, the Harley Quinn show, which is also a DC alternate universe officially, makes fun of the fact that, yeah, you're a spoiled rich kid and the only major thing that happened to you was that your parents died. Now,
You know what?
granted, they do it
I don't get to hate on that show. Like
distastefully.
I like the show.
I was about to say I mean, granted, they do it a little distastefully, but also this is Harley Quinn we're talking about. If it was
Yeah.
anything, if it was anything but distasteful, I wouldn't watch it.
Right. That's the whole point. It's a Harley Quinn alternate universe type thing, and the show is going to be um
Filtered through her perspective.
yeah, that's what I was trying to yeah, thank you. That's what I was trying to think of the words. Um like yeah, I don't like what happens to some characters in that show. But I it's better than what Warner Brothers did with Filma. Blah blah blah. That show was god awful.
Yeah. And also,
Yeah, I didn't like what they did with Nightwing.
no, I mean, okay, some characters they did dirty for no
Yeah,
reason.
they kill off Nightwing, they bring him back, and at first you're thinking this is Jason Todd. But no, it's Nightwing back, and he's less fucking marbles. They threw him into it was in the Lazarus pit instead of Jason in this universe because he dies
Okay,
in the show, and then he's brought back.
interesting. I haven't watched Harley Quinn show all the way through. I think I watched like season 1 and 2, and I definitely like the show, but HBO
I think
Max is
Kite Man's
so
better.
damn expensive. Kite Man,
I
hell
don't.
yeah.
Yeah. I watch Sangs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Johnny Depping it. I'm Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, I'm gonna have to get HBO Max, but again, it's so damn expensive. But I'll figure it out. But yeah, so they fight. Batman fights off the rogues. Alfred approves of the performance silently. He's still watching Batman. Although he says that Batman, if he knew what he was doing, would have set up a trap for the fleeing party animals. Alfred's superiors directly order him to take Batman out, and he jumps down to ground level. He sneaks up behind Batman, levels his custom automatic shotgun. There's Alfred with the shotgun again at his head and orders him to stand down. However, Batman easily knocks him down, disarms him, and escapes with the gun. Yeah, this Batman packs heat. That's another thing.
Yeah, you
This is
definitely
just
gotta check out the thing that I was telling you with him fighting off the Ku Klux Klan. It's awesome what he uses against him.
I have to check it out. I really do. There's a lot of Batman that I'm missing. Alfred quickly deduces that Batman is Bruce Wayne, matching the design of the wings on Batman's cape to Bruce's winning entry of a collapsible bridge to a student engineering competition in the 5th grade. He then pieces together Bruce's life story. The prize for the competition was a trip to the zoo for his class. Thomas Wayne, who was Bruce's father and teacher, chaperoned the trip and sacrificed himself to save his students when the zoo was attacked by a mass shooter. After spending his teen years as a delinquent, Bruce buckled down, got good grades, and went to the best university in the state on an athletic scholarship. However, he faked an injury to get out of playing and studied all the subjects he would need to be a crime fighter. When he returned to Gotham, he worked as a utilities engineer to learn every inch of the city, interned at City Hall to learn about municipal politics, and finally started working construction. So, for those of you thinking that this Batman was just a brute, no. This Batman is also probably right about as strategic as the main one. He's just going about it in a different way.
Yep. Instead of going, traveling throughout the world and meeting different instructors and stuff and learning things from different people, he goes to college instead.
Yeah.
And then gets it,
And
gets jobs.
yeah, and it's so interesting too, because this is exactly how somebody who really wants to be a vigilante in real life would do it. It's more realistic. And plus, also, Alfred quickly finding out Batman to be Bruce Wayne, I think, is a cherry on top. Because, let's be honest, there was a great degree of plot armor protecting Batman from being found out. That and constant resets of the universe. So, I just think it's very refreshing to see a take where it's kind of obvious if you
Someone
know what to
finds
piece
out.
together.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
quickly. Yeah.
it's kind of obvious if you know what to piece together, but you'd have to be somebody like Alfred, basically an assassin, to be able to piece it together. I think that's a strong balance between the two. Because again, Batman is supposed to feel like a person, not some omnipotent god. He's supposed to feel like a person who's just terrifying in how he conducts his crime fighting and methods, but he's still at the end of the day a person. Anybody could find out who he is. For God's sakes, if this was real life, somebody would have ripped up his suit and found out who he is by now. Like, it's a fight. But
Yeah,
yeah,
like Gordon in real life would have found out pretty quickly. Like, he's
absolutely.
dropping these hints that have known him before.
So yeah, but Alfred continues to track Bruce throughout the city, first to the now abandoned zoo and then to his mother's house. He does plan to kill Bruce on the porch in front of Martha, but just as he's about to, he receives a text from Julia telling him to never contact her again and hesitates. That night, he tracks Bruce to his hideout on the top floor of a skyscraper, which is owned by a billionaire who never uses it and just keeps it as an investment. He tells Bruce he's shutting him down, and Bruce points the shotgun at him. Again, Batman packing heat. Love it. Alfred confidently predicts Bruce isn't going to shoot him, but to his shock, Bruce shoots him point blank in the face. However, this only incapacitates him, as Bruce modified the gun to be non-lethal and fired a dozen bat-shaped darts into Alfred's face, which lodge into his flesh but do not penetrate further. Oh my God, this Batman is so he does not play games. This Batman is so comically over the top with stuff. But I actually like it here because it kind of makes sense for how Batman's character is supposed to be. You just
And
don't
his
want to be on his
Batmobile,
bad side.
yeah, his Batmobile here is a fucking that's a modified. I forgot what type of car it was, but it's pretty sweet looking because he doesn't have all this money and tech with him, but he's a mechanic.
So he can soup it up still.
Yeah. So he can soup it up, and he does, and it's a beast of a fucking.
But
And
you
it
know
makes
what?
the
I've seen it.
it makes a regular Batmobile look like a children's
Monster
toy.
truck. It's actually pretty. Like, this Bruce is just cool. This Bruce is just awesome, honestly. This might be the first time that I've ever found Batman to be somewhat cool. Like, just because of the fact that this is just a guy just doing stuff, and he's like beating the shit out of people, and it's just this feels like if Michael Bay wrote Batman, and I honestly am here for it. But yeah, Bruce drops the gun, revs up a motorcycle, which, yeah, Bruce stole Alfred's motorcycle, if you couldn't tell from the beginning. Batman tells him, "You're not the only one who follows people," and Alfred realizes that Bruce knew about him from the moment he arrived in Gotham. Bruce drives the bike through the window and out into the air, gliding away on the wings of his cape. Oh my God. In Manila, a private helicopter picks up Alfred's previous target, a mysterious billionaire who has spent his life training with the most dangerous people in the world and then killing them when he had learned all he could. The man's true name is unknown, and he goes by a variety of aliases, but as he has never been heard to laugh at anything, he is most commonly known as the Joker. So let's talk about the Joker. The Joker, as he is seen in this comic, is currently like wearing a suit made of babies. So
Yeah, so the Joker here doesn't have the makeup. Nope. And he's more I would say like he's probably as smart as Bruce in this universe. He's pretty cunning.
yeah, I would say that based on what we see from him later, he might be a little bit more cunning than Bruce. But the fact that Bruce one knew Alfred was in the city before he remotely even this is Batman. This is Batman. This is true Batman, because and it still keeps his intelligence. It just, he's down to earth about it. So you wouldn't think looking at him that he's that intelligent, but he still is, which I think is a great. And again, he looks intimidating. This looks like he'd be a nightmare for bad guys. If you ever saw something like that in an alleyway, you'd shit your pants real quick. So I think that the Absolute Universe, I'm going to give a full 8.5 out of 10. I mean, there's a couple writing decisions where I'm just like, okay, whatever, but for the most part, I think that this is almost a perfect universe. What about you? What did you give it when you first read it?
Absolute Batman or the whole Absolute Universe in general?
Absolute Batman in particular.
Okay, because it was the whole Absolute Universe, I would have read it at lower. But if just focus on Absolute Batman. I would say like 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think the writing decisions here are a lot better. There's a lot going for this version than, say, something. Again, the main universe Batman, I just do not find to be a good story. I find it to be the basis for a good story, but a lot of people that write Batman just stray too far in one direction with his character and don't consider any other angle.
I just don't like how they handled. So they changed Joe Chill from a burglar into a mass shooter, and he was there at at the zoo. So instead of him being a burglar, he's a mass shooter. I'm like, I don't really like this change for Joe Chill. I would have preferred if it was just Black Mask and his
Right,
goons
yeah.
there.
Somebody who was already established to kinda be that level of petty.
Yeah, because Chill just he's usually just he just steals things for money, like a common thief does. Yeah, this version, yeah, he's just ruthless, which I didn't like at all.
I feel like they're gonna I don't know. I feel like they're gonna do something with that. I haven't read the comic fully, so they might have already
So
done it, but
so he's either dead now or still in prison. We don't know yet. Um,
mhm.
they don't really mention him again after.
I know that I know that there was at least a I feel like there was a comic scene where Batman, like, caught up with Joe Chill and was, like, beating him up, but didn't really kill him.
There was a
But
trial for JoJo,
yeah,
but I don't remember Batman beating him. Um,
gotcha.
in this universe, it might have been another universe where he
Might
does
have been
that.
another universe I was paying attention to. Yeah, I just I think that Absolute Batman is one of the better ones. Considering that we are now halfway through, it is time for a groove break. So, we're just gonna go ahead and, chillax, relax, try not to do any crack, and, when
Oh
we come
no,
back, we're gonna
I haven't touched crack in 20 years.
oh boy, is there still a risk? Because I mean, we gotta come back from the groove break sober. I mean, I don't know.
No, I just have edibles. That's all I have.
That's fine. You can do edibles. I don't care. Just come right back here after, and we'll
Yeah, they're
talk
just
about one
for
or
my
two more.
scoliosis.
Yeah, I ain't blaming you. You got to deal with your pain somehow.
Yeah, and it's legal here at least. I'm not doing anything wrong.
Right. I need to go to Nevada. I need to get up to Nevada.
Man, we have like brownies and cookies, these drinks. Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, for the munchies.
yeah.
But when we come back, we are going to be talking about another couple of dark AUs, and then we're gonna kind of go into some philosophical stuff, and then we're gonna wrap up. And yeah, then we'll wish you good night. But yeah, this is a groove break, and yeah, relax, and you're watching what's going on with Dapper Don. So stay tuned. You're tuned in to What's Going On with Dapper Don. Don't touch that dial. back. For those of you just now tuning in, we just got through roasting the crap out of Marvel Ruins and praising Absolute Batman, surprisingly enough. So it was a very interesting start to the episode, but now we're going to dive into two AUs that I actually didn't intend to be comparable, but they end up being very comparable in terms of plot and how they handle things. One of them is DC versus vampires, the other Marvel zombies. And as far as where my co-host is, he had to step out, unfortunately, due to time zones and the time of how this is being recorded. He just had to go to bed, and I wasn't going to keep him any longer, at least not considering the fact that I'm not paying him. So we're just going to get into it. I'm going to give you my own personal brand of opinion, and then we'll wrap up from there. But now, let's go ahead and jump into DC versus vampires. Now, this starts when a bandaged and fearful Andrew Bennett makes his way towards the Hall of Justice, Green Arrow watching him from the shadows. As Andrew runs towards the entrance, the vampire is hit by a car and bursts into flames due to exposure to sunlight. Now, for those of you who don't know who Andrew Bennett is like DC's premier centuries-old vampire character. If you look into him, he has some stories by himself. Like, he's very important to the DC universe and that side of the DC universe. But a crowd watches in horror until Hal Jordan's Green Lantern arrives and brings him inside to recuperate. Andrew wakes up with Hal by his side, and Hal assures him that he is safe. Andrew demands to speak to the Justice League immediately, as the world is at stake. Hal says the League is currently off planet, so he'll have to explain himself to Hal alone. And then what's interesting about this, that my co-host did make me aware of, is that they actually use the Wonder Twins. Now, if you're like me, you're thinking, the Wonder Twins, didn't Family Guy make fun of them and then we never heard anything of them again? Well, here they are, back in action. The energetic young Wonder Twin Zahn enters the room and is fascinated by meeting a real vampire, much to Hal's annoyance. Mary, Queen of Blood, the vampire queen and Andrew's lover/nemesis, has been murdered. With Mary dead, there is now no one to keep peace between humans and vampires, and the two races are on the brink of war. Andrew explains that he has been searching for Mary's murderer, and his search led him to the Legion of Doom's headquarters. He arrived to find the Legion massacred and the vampires' plans for the genocide of the human race. Andrew then encountered a grievously wounded Lex Luthor, who the vampires left alive to torture. Lex gave Andrew a syringe containing his blood and an address to deliver it to, and then asked Andrew to kill him. Lex's dying wish was for the world to know it had him to thank as a savior. That's very Lex Luthor ambition. Andrew then narrowly avoided the Legion members who had been converted into vampires, including the Riddler, who he killed, and the Cheetah, who chased him out of the door. Spending the next week making his way to the Justice League, Andrew moved during daylight out of fear that the vampires were closing in on him. He warns that the vampires have agents everywhere and says that the Leaguers were the only people he could trust. Hal and Zahn are bewildered by Andrew's story. When Hal asks if he has any proof or has told anyone else, Andrew answers no. Zahn announces that he will get the other League members, and Hal immediately restrains him using his Green Lantern ring. And Andrew realizes Hal lied when he said the League was off planet. Here comes the twist. Andrew called Hal a traitor. Hal replies that Andrew has betrayed the vampires by trying to stop them from taking what rightfully belongs to the race. Hal reveals he himself is now a vampire and proceeds to viciously murder Zahn by grinding him in a blender with his ring. God. Jesus. Now, if we got that in Injustice, that would be peak. Just, wow. I mean, I know the ring can do anything, but Jesus. Hal reveals his powers as a Green Lantern, grant him immunity to sunlight, and kills Andrew by projecting a sun with the ring. Hal then calls his master to inform him that Andrew has been taken care of and disposes of Zahn's remains. Aquaman walks in just as Hal finishes cleaning to inform him that Batman has called a meeting. Aquaman observes that no one has seen Green Arrow in days. That night, Batman arrives in the Batcave to find Alfred waiting for him. Alfred reveals that a nervous, bandaged man had arrived at Wayne Manor earlier that day seeking to speak with him. Alfred hands Batman a note from that man, Andrew Bennett, and holding the syringe says that he wanted Batman to know that Lex Luthor might have just saved the world. And yeah, Andrew Bennett is from a DC comic called I Vampire. I'd give it a read. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, so far we've got betrayal, we've got characters turning into supernatural monstrosities. We've got the makings of a good plot here. We've got, I mean, the writing is super clever. There's I mean, honestly, this is starting off to be a pretty good AU. But there's a certain problem that I have eventually where they just start throwing a bunch of shit at the wall to see what sticks. And I don't know. It's like at a certain point in this story, like Darkseid arrives and starts trying to kill vampires. The new gods arrive and start like betray. They pretend to be on the side of the humans, but they're actually on the side of the vampires. You know, Barbara Gordon ends up being the leader of the vampires. Alfred ends up getting a Green Lantern ring, which I think is clever. I actually like that concept, but it's like then they end up like defeating the vampires who had blacked out the sky by pulling the earth towards the sun. And it's just, I don't know. It was a lot thrown in there. And I really think that that's because they didn't know where to go with this concept. Now, the art for this is delightfully sharp, delightfully like deadly. Like you feel like these characters could pierce you. So the art's pretty good. Again, the story direction is pretty good. But like, yeah, Batgirl, sorry, becomes the new vampire queen, and she has an uneasy truce with the remaining humans, and a rebellion is led by Damian Wayne, and yeah, it's just a whole bunch. It's a whole bunch, and I get that they had to flesh this out to make comics and make side stories and things of that nature, so it could actually be a real thing. But it's still like, be honest, it's a plot about heroes turning into vampires. Don't try and stray into a bunch of bullshit with factions and rebellions. Like I know this is realistically how they would react in this scenario, but you're still kind of taking it a little too far. And then Darkseid just randomly there. I don't know. I don't know. It just it seems like they're throwing a lot of shit at the wall to try and see what sticks. And the problem with doing that is that even though these ideas have the potential to stick, it's just the fact that there's so much shit on the wall that's going to make people tune out from that. But that's just my thoughts on that. And I am going to put a compilation of the art in so you can just see what I'm talking about. Like everything looks beautifully intimidating. It's got plenty of reds. It's bloody, it's gruesome, but it's very much, it feels a little bit more angular than what we see in typical DC Comics art. So, Marvel Zombies is Earth 2149 in the Marvel Universe. When an unidentified superhero came to this world, he brought a plague that infected the others, eventually causing a zombie outbreak. This reality first appeared in the Ultimate Fantastic Four 21, when its world's Fantastic Four lured the Ultimate Reed Richards to their dimension in order to eat him, later received his own miniseries where the zombified superheroes faced the world devourer Galactus. Though it shares much similar traits to Earth 616, which is the main universe in Marvel Comics, the chronology diverts at some points. For example, seeing Venom among the zombies suggests that the first Secret Wars already happened in this reality, though Galactus came much earlier to Earth in Earth 616. Also, the characters are using traditional costumes by this point that they couldn't be wearing. Steve Rogers is referred to as Colonel America instead of Captain America, without mentioning he was already the President of the United States, much like the Earth's 1610 counterpart, but not for a full term. Yeah, essentially, virus turns all the beloved superheroes into cannibalistic undead zombies, yet they retain their intellect, memories, and superpowers. Now, this is interesting because they can actually feel the hunger and they can't really resist it too much. I mean, Spider-Man tries to put up a resistance, but yeah, a mysterious infected superpowered being, later identified as a version of the Sentry, arrives from another dimension and spreads his zombie virus throughout Earth 2149, infecting the Avengers and then the rest of the superhero community within hours. With zombified heroes quickly devouring the human population, including the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, once the world is devoid of life, the zombies grapple with their hunger, a constant agonizing craving for flesh, and their remaining humanity. The Silver Surfer, when he arrives to warn of Galactus, the zombie heroes consume him, absorbing his power cosmic. They later fight and consume Galactus himself, becoming the Zombie Galacti, immortal cosmic power and able to travel the universe to feed. A small group of uninfected humans, led by Magneto and later Black Panther, fight back. Black Panther manages to survive, though he is heavily injured and loses limbs, later saving the head of the Wasp, who was bitten by Giant Man. 5 years later, the zombies return to Earth, their hunger having subsided. This is the conclusion. They attempt to use a dimensional teleporter to find more food, but are betrayed and teleported to a different reality, Earth 91126 by Malcolm Cortez, where they continue their rampage. And the key characters in this are Spider-Man, who he ate Mary Jane and Aunt May, and he tries to maintain some form of morality after his hunger. It doesn't work. Like, there's a scene where, he's in another dimension. I forget which dimension it was, but he goes and his rogues gallery are scared of zombie Spider-Man because they know that these zombies are a threat. So all of his rogues are on high defense. Real Spider-Man from that universe shows up and ends up getting brutally murdered by Sandman due to a misunderstanding. So now the zombie Spider-Man is the only Spider-Man around. Giant Man is a ruthless leader who keeps a wounded Black Panther alive to feed on him. Yep, he's a zombie, even biting off Wasp's head in an argument. Colonel America, not Captain America, one of the first infected, he leads the zombies until his head is destroyed. And then after her head is removed, the Wasp is attached to a cybernetic body by Black Panther, eventually losing her hunger and helping the human resistance. Also of note, Marvel Zombies also gets a little weird with it because Marvel loves to do the universe hopping stuff. I mean, DC has a crisis event every time a butterfly farts, right? But Marvel has a universe hopping event like every time somebody gets up out of a chair. So yeah, we start getting into stuff like with Headpool, who's basically a zombie that they cut the head off of and gave him a propeller cap. Now he's just a zombie Deadpool head flying around doing stuff, joins the Deadpool Corps of note. But yeah, eventually these zombies become a universal scourge, and we really don't ever get a true resolution to this story. I'm going to tell you, the art for this story is particularly gruesome as well. Insert compilation here, Dapper Don. But yeah, it's not necessarily the most, it's just zombie shenanigans. Of note was that the first few issues of the series were written by the same guy who wrote The Walking Dead. So where the first few issues of the series, are a little bit more grounded and a little bit more like this is a serious thing, the last few issues start to go off the fucking deep end. Now, how does this compare to DC versus Vampires? Well, for one, both of them deal with some kind of scourge that comes about due to someone else's negligence or a hero's negligence or something like that. There's a big emphasis on who becomes a zombie and the fact that they keep their abilities and intelligence, or in DC's case, vampires. And there's a bunch of twists and turns with that. There's characters grappling with their own morality. There's space universe shenanigans in both of them. But I do prefer the plot of DC versus Vampires more. If I had to give DC versus Vampires a rating, I'd give it maybe a 6, 7 out of 10. And if any of you make a 6, 7 joke, I swear to God, I will find you. I will come for you. Anywho, maybe a 6.5 out of 10 is what I will give this one, DC versus Vampires. And Marvel Zombies, I'm gonna have to give it like a 4.5, 5 out of 10 because it goes off the deep end way quicker than DC versus Vampires does. My co-host mentioned earlier, and I forget if he mentioned it earlier in this episode or if he mentioned it to me in private, but he mentioned that DC is just kind of better at telling a dark story than Marvel. And I would tend to agree with him. Marvel tends to have more shocking dark stories, especially with the art for Marvel Zombies. It's pretty gruesome. It's pretty gory, pretty. It's like a toned down version of Marvel Ruins' art. But at the end of the day, it's still kind of, it's still kind of shocking and not really much else, which is why they have to throw in a bunch of alternate universe crap. So I do definitely think overall DC's better at telling a dark story than Marvel is. I mean, just based on the examples that I'm seeing, DC tends to put a little bit more effort, a little bit more clever writing into their stuff. Now, I've heard stuff about the Absolute Universe itself not being the best, right? But as far as Absolute Batman, that's a better written dark story than anything that Marvel could come out. Zombies, ruins, whatever. Now, I haven't really looked too deeply into the Darkhold comics. People are saying that those are better, but like I read somewhere that Iron Man becomes like a Springtrap fusion with his suit, and I just kind of tuned out after that. I don't know. Marvel is great at shock when it comes to their dark subjects, but DC's where they actually write a good dark story. So there's my thoughts on the two big comic universes and how they handle dark stories. But now we're going to go on to the next section. Why do these concepts even exist? Well, after going through all that with us and then that second half, that truncated half with me, you may be wondering why twisted concepts like this are so numerous. Well, let's talk about brand safety. Brand safety means that characters can't change too much, and stories, they just have to be within certain they just have to fall within certain limits, you know. It's like Batman in the main stories has to overcome whatever rogue he's fighting, you know. Superman in the main stories has to overcome whatever big city destroying villain he's fighting, you know. Captain America has to overcome Hydra. He has to overcome whatever is thrown at him as far as what shield gives him, right? It's like these are rules that the brand has to stay with. But what these dark alternate universes allow writers to do is they allow writers to kill characters, destroy worlds, push moral limits, and it's very freeing. I mean, and fans of any franchise, you know, they tend to ask questions like, well, what if this character died? Or what if this thing that the character depends on fell through? It's only natural. It's why horror even exists in the first place. Then there's just the plain old monkey brain catharsis. Heroes push too far, villains winning, a more emotionally intense story than just good guy punches bad guy at the end. Readers eat that shit up. And you know, there's something to be said for when these concepts work. When there's some character consistency, when the characters are in character and it just feels like this is a tragedy that would genuinely happen to them. When there's plot believability. Like, okay, Marvel Ruins lacks both character consistency and plot believability. They have plenty of tragedy or horror, but it's mostly random. Like, again, earlier in the episode, it's just shock. As I said, it's shock for shock's sake. It's not like, why does Jean Grey trying to phase through her cell and unsuccessful, so her guts splatter all over the place? It doesn't make sense. Why would Jean Grey, somebody who at that point had that ability for years and who had been associated with the X-Men, so she'd been trained, why would she miscalculate a phase like that? Why cut off Silver Surfer's arms as well as his legs? His legs are the dangerous parts. To my knowledge, his arms haven't done shit except punch. So it's like it's just shock for shock's sake. It's to justify the art looking as morbid as it does, but it's still not. It's like they thought of the art first before they wrote the story, and again, that's not good. But like, let's look at a universe like we didn't talk about it, but Injustice. That works because every character there is in character. And this is something that's believable. You believe that Superman would have a moment where he just snaps and says that's enough. But he would still think he's a hero. So he would still do things trying to be heroic. He just would be very much more stubborn about it. And it would turn out to be not very heroic because Superman, his empathy would just shoot through the floor. And you'd believe that Batman would be leading resistance to stop it. You'd believe that there'd be a Superman pill developed so people wouldn't just be getting ripped open by Superman just randomly. I mean, that's believable. And it's a fair balance of tragedy. You know, Lois Lane gets killed by the Joker or making Superman think that he's, I think, I forget. It's one of his rogues, but yeah, he kills the quote unquote rogue thing, and then it ends up being Lois Lane, and then he kills the Joker by jamming his fist through his stomach. I mean, again, morbid, shocking, and it does go far, but it doesn't go too far, and it stays within that range of, okay, this could be something that could actually be canon. And also, a lot of these dark AUs work when they're actually asking a profound or interesting question instead of just being violent for violence sake. For example, again, Absolute Batman just kind of asks a lot of questions, but the main question is, What if Bruce had it harder? What if Bruce wasn't just able to solve every problem that came his way with his money, so you couldn't pick apart the plot, saying that he could just buy his way to this or do this or buy this or build this? What if he was just your average working man doing the best he can to keep his city safe? And what if everything around him conspired was significantly worse for him being this average man with not as many resources to keep everyone safe? What if Batman used guns? That's another profound question. And it's a very hilarious question. And like I said, these concepts become trash when it's just everyone's evil now. Random shock and violence. Like what? Nick Fury is a cannibal? Captain America introduces him to cannibalism? Why? How is any of that even remotely? So it's just everyone's evil now. Everyone's a bad guy. Peter Parker's described as a weasel, an idiot. And it's just like, okay, so everyone's just horrid now. And it's no sense of like, well, this would be because, like, why again, Peter Parker, he's diseased in the Marvel universe. If he knows this, why is he showing up somewhere where he could infect other people? I know this is a different Peter Parker, but the problem is it's so stupid that it's not even believable that a random scientist would do it unless they were actively trying to hurt people. So I don't know. And there's a lot of out of character moments in Ruins. There's quite a few that kind of make me question. Like all the others that we've covered today have been very much mostly in character, but Marvel Ruins is so grossly out of character that it actually upsets me a little bit. But yeah, even then, a lot of these concepts start to seem a little samey. It's like somebody dies, somebody turns into a zombie, somebody turns into a vampire. We make it extra hard on the character. All of these are just kind of, we've seen it before. So you really have to do a lot to make it stand out. Already. You're already working at a disadvantage. But even if it is bad in your eyes or my eyes, there are still plenty of people that love it for what it's trying to do, and there's not a single thing wrong with that. It is important to be creative and enjoy what you write, but just know that if it's lazy, you're going to end up on a show like this where I rip you to shreds. But anywho, that's all for today's show. If you like this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. All my socials will be linked in the description, as well as who helped put this episode together. Follow us everywhere so you don't miss a beat. And tune in next Sunday at 6:30 p.m. for an all-new What's Going On with Dapper Don. You don't want to miss what I have in store. Peace out.